Welcome everyone to episode 95 of the Standing A podcast, live streaming on Facebook and YouTube on this Monday evening, October 16th, 2023. I'm Aaron Sorial, hosting from Los Angeles, and with me are the usual suspects. We got Courtney, aka the Burt Brown Sugar. Also, we've got Stephen Ruiz, owner of Ringside Global, the IG page. Make sure you follow his content. Also, his personal IG, kilo underscore Stevo. And last but not certainly not least, the first lady of boxing representing Ohio Hard, Tiffany Daniels. So, welcome everyone. I know everyone's pressed for time, but we're going to make this show hot regardless. So, wasting no time, let's talk about the action that took place at the Gold Coast Convention Center in Broad Beach, Australia, this past Saturday night for us United States viewers. Tim Tszyu, who was elevated to full WBO Junior Middleweight champion, defended his upgraded title against the very tough American Brian Mendoza from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Mendoza was heading into this fight, riding the momentum from two back-to-back knockout wins over Sebastian Fundora in April and Jason Rosario last November. With those two upset wins under his belt, his confidence in his abilities to upset Tim Tszyu would only skyrocket. As for the actual fight, Mendoza fought to the best of his abilities, putting together speedy combinations and showcasing a consistent jab. But unfortunately, his best that night wasn't good enough to overcome Tim Tszyu, who is clearly on another level above Mendoza. Throughout the fight, you saw Tim Tszyu walking down, stalking Mendoza, while either blocking or rolling a good majority of Mendoza's attacks. To make matters worse, Tszyu didn't give Mendoza that many opportunities to counter back with something big because, as we all saw, Tszyu was reserved with his offense. Rarely did you see Tszyu initiate the action with the jab. Instead, Tim Tszyu chose to be patient, finding any gap in Mendoza's defense to land his power shots. And Tszyu did just that, firing off numerous straight rights, left hooks, and uppercuts when they engaged inside. To Mendoza's credit, though, his heart was on full display, fighting back as hard as he could up to the 12th round, even while taking immense punishment from Tszyu's attacks. If this was any other fighter against Tszyu, this fight wouldn't go the distance. So with Tim Tszyu making his first successful defense of his newly elevated WBO Super Welterweight title, his undefeated record now stands at 24 wins and 17 knockouts. So, Tiffany, I know you're pressed for time, but let's get your thoughts on Tim Tszyu's performance against the risky opponent that he chose in Mendoza. Give us your thoughts, Tiffany.
I was kind of intrigued. I almost forgot what Mendoza had done those last couple of fights, and I'm seeing how it's like, oh man, this is going to be a good fight. I thought Mendoza did good with like doubling up on the jab and triple jabbing and doing some things, but Tim Tszyu was just applying the pressure to him without even really hitting him. He was like really had this guy backing up, and that kind of shocked me. Brian Mendoza reminds me of Gabe Rosado a lot, because it's kind of like one of those guys that comes out the fight. He's really tough, but he never really hits the mark. But he always comes out the fight, and he's got like this good backstory about, like how he's working so hard, and I think Gabe Rosado was working like Home Depot or something like that, and just getting it out the mud and fighting and working and doing things like that. And that's what Brian Mendoza reminds me of. It's kind of like a Gabe Rosado type of fighter. But I thought he did pretty good. It just wasn't enough. Tim Tszyu was just too much for him.
That's an interesting, accurate comparison as far as Gabriel Rosado is concerned. Great stuff, Tiffany. Stephen Ruiz, give us your thoughts on that fight that happened this Saturday for us.
Oh, I thought it was a great showing. Anytime you're a boxer and the so-called script is written where you assume Tim Tszyu is going to go out there and run through the guy, but he goes out there and displays heart, gets in some great exchanges, throws some left hooks himself. I didn't really like that Tim Tszyu got tagged as much as he did, especially if you're talking about, fighting Charlo or fighting the upper echelon. So it was a great fight. I think Mendoza went out there, earned respect. Right off the top, though, Tim Tszyu got my respect with coming out to Coolio, Gangster's Paradise. Oh, man. Like, again, this boxing game is so mental. So when you have Terrence Bud Crawford coming out with Eminem, just ripping the roof off the place, or an Errol Spence when he came out in Dallas with Big Tuck, like these things just put you on go immediately. So when Tim Tszyu came out to Coolio, I was like, oh man, that Coolio's my guy. I've met him a couple times and always been a class act. But credit to Mendoza, he stayed in there in the 10th round. That was a very tough round for Mendoza, and he weathered the storm. I thought the referee was looking to stop it. At this time, he's kind of cut up, he's kind of beat up, but even though he's going back at times, he's pressing the action. And at the end of the day, all these boxers, man, don't care what level you're at. You're a warrior for stepping in the ring. We've said it on this show once. We'll say it 1,000 more times, and we'll say it, till the end of time. If you're stepping in that squared circle and you're putting it all on the line, respect to you. So he went out there. I believe he earned Tim Tszyu's respect. However, like Tiffany said, like I know Courtney will say, it's just he's levels above. And it's tough when you come to the office and your best might not be good enough that day. And Tim Tszyu's uppercuts, oh, those were so vicious. Those, man, through the TV, they hurt me. So the fact that he stayed up there, it's a testament to his training camp. Anytime a fighter's in there and he gets wailed on, but can still throw some back. Like I said, the 10th round, he's still shooting his shots, one straight, a little bit under the belt. Tim Tszyu kind of absorbed it. It was a little bit of a low blow. That's still monstrous of Tszyu. He took one to the, a little low and rallied on and almost closed out the show in the 10th. So the fact that it went 12, all respect to Mendoza. He wasn't a guy out there to what we saw in that big Canelo Charlo fight. He wasn't out there just to lay down. He went out there, and that's what we talk about when I said the previous. Your stock only rises. Gabe Rosado was, like Tiffany Daniels mentioned, was he the best boxer of all time? No. But was he in some big, nasty wars? And not just a few. That guy his phone rang when they had fights that needed a solid opponent. Now, was he going to win? Was he going to lose? We don't know. But was he coming to fight? 1,000%. So when Mendoza came to fight Tszyu and not just go out there and let it be a Tszyu coronation or a coming out party for him, that's what you want. I promise you Mendoza's phone will ring again because he's a game opponent. And that's what boxing fans love to see. So that was my assessment of that. I was thrilled that fight was going on because I'm not too big into the Jake Paul and all that stuff. So it's just, I was glad that we had some real boxing, some real gutty stuff, not some random circus disqualification, WWE type drama. So that was my assessment.
Awesome, Stephen. Courtney, let's get to you. Your thoughts on Saturday's fight in Australia?
It was a classic example of, because I'm a big college basketball fan. So, we watch the tournament every spring. There's always one squad, one school that comes in and they do better as expected. They get deep into the field. They have a Cinderella story going, and usually, more oftentimes than not, that clock strikes midnight as they get deeper into the field, and they go up against those teams that are stacked. And I think this was a perfect example of that, as that translates into boxing, where Mendoza is coming in there with a lot of momentum, winning a few fights down the stretch that he wasn't supposed to win. Showed up twice where he was just supposed to basically show up and take part, but he showed up and took over. And he came down to Australia. You could tell he came down there with that same mentality, to upset the apple cart again and to essentially spoil the party and upend the establishment in boxing, because everybody was talking what Charlo and Tszyu is gonna look like potentially. And he came in with the mind state that, hey, I'm here, I got other plans, and I'm not here to take part, I'm here to take over. And for the first 6 rounds, I would say he was doing a pretty good job of painting that narrative. But where it goes is where, like I said, midnight struck on Cinderella. That glass slipper came off. Tszyu was able to differentiate himself down the stretch, and he called it before the fight and in the press. And basically, those who would listen and said, after the fourth round, I'm gonna get active on him, and that's exactly what he did. Came down the stretch. I don't think it was a situation where Mendoza fatigued. I don't think he necessarily got out of his depth. It just became a clear differentiation of the skill set that the two have. Where as opposed to where Mendoza was looking for that big punch straight down the stretch. We've all seen where Mendoza can maintain his power into those late rounds after taking punishment, after some fatigue. But this time it wasn't there because, Tszyu is a guy who keeps it thorough. I think in that fight against Jason Rosario and Fundora, Mendoza was able to capitalize because he caught those guys going to sleep in there. Tszyu, you can obviously tell he did his homework. He did his film study. He came in there very thoroughly prepared, and he wasn't gonna fall asleep. He was gonna keep that fight thorough for 15, 30 rounds if he had to, and all he needed to do was keep it thorough for 12. In doing so, like it was pointed out down the stretch, it got nasty for Mendoza. Mendoza showed a lot of heart. Took a lot of devastating shots. There was a play late down that fight where I think the referee could have reasonably stepped in and stopped it. Mendoza's corner, Ishmael Salas could have reasonably thrown in the towel to preserve his fighter. But Mendoza did what warriors do, and he soldiered on through that adversity, and he answered the last bell. And he, in the mentality in doing so, he didn't answer the last bell just to say, "Hey, I survived." He's been knocking all these other guys out. I didn't go nowhere. And he even said in the post fight, he said, "I'm not out here chasing checks. I'm out here trying to build a legacy and be a champion in boxing." And he didn't get his hand raised. He didn't go back to the States or back to Albuquerque with the belt, but he went back with his dignity, and I'm sure he went back with a nice check as well for his troubles. But Mendoza is definitely one of those guys who you see in the loss. He will come again. People will call for him to come again and demand that he be in other fights against quality opposition, and that's what it's all about. In terms of Tim Tszyu, I was impressed with the performance. Where I see Tim Tszyu is, I really respect the fact that Tim Tszyu is not trying to eat off his father's name, or his father's legacy in his last name. Tim Tszyu is a guy in there who definitely wants all the smoke. He wants to come out of his comfort zone. He says he's done fighting in Australia. That's a similar move that Bud Crawford made, where he said, I'm not really too keen to keep taking these fights in Omaha, even though I love my city, I love my fans, but I'm trying to take it to the pinnacle. And he wants those big fights in Vegas, in Dallas, in perhaps Madison Square Garden, maybe in the Crypto.com arena in LA. But he wants to be in front of those big audiences in those big venues on American television, in prime time. And that's the mentality you need to have in there. And first thing, he wasn't demure about, well, I'm gonna see where my manager or my promoter wants to take this afterwards. He was like, no, I want Charlo. What's up? So hey, I'm looking forward to that matchup. It's a fight that obviously can be made. It's all going to be dependent on whether Charlo is just as keen to get that smoke. But I mean, Charlo said he was say, hey, I'll go back to 154. Well, that's who's waiting for you at 154. So I mean, we'll see. But if it goes down, I'm very much looking forward to it.
Mendoza, he was facing a big puzzle, and as we all saw, there was not much opportunities for Mendoza to counter anything because Tszyu, he was very economical with his output, and whenever he landed his power shots, he closed up real quick like Fort Knox, and he was fully defensive. He rolled numerous punches from Mendoza, and speaking on Tim Tszyu, that type of style, how do you think would that fare against Charlo? You know, as of this moment, Tim Tszyu, he's very conscious of not using that jab as much, but when he does use the jab, he treats it as a power shot, along with his other power shots from his right hand. With that style, how long you think he could get away with it, especially when he potentially matches up with Jamel Charlo? Tiffany, your thoughts on that aspect of it?
Honestly, before Charlo fought Canelo, I would think that Tim Tszyu was going to have some problems with Jamel Charlo's style, but after this last fight, I just don't know. I just don't know after the way he fought against Canelo how it's going to turn out. I don't even think Jamel's going to even fight him. To be honest with you, I feel like he's just going to like vacate the belts and move on. If I had to be honest with you guys, I just feel like he's just not going to do anything as far as Tim Tszyu is concerned, especially because this guy's been calling him out. He's scheduled to fight him, and then he just decided I'll fight Canelo. And now he's like, okay, I'll fight Tim Tszyu. We'll see. He wants Terrence Crawford. I don't think that'll happen, but hopefully I'm rooting for Tim Tszyu to get that fight so that he can go for undisputed in that division. I'm hoping that fight happens for him. I do like Tim Tszyu. I was a big fan of Costa Tszyu. Again, it's hard not to compare the two. Although, you know, Costa Tszyu beat my dude Zab Judah, and I'll never forget that. But Tim Tszyu is making his own mark, and I feel like I want that fight to happen for him. I just don't know how it'll happen. I just don't know how it'll turn out. I'm really concerned about Jamel Charlo and how he'll perform in his next fight.
You know, we're at kind of one of those conundrums where the potential, the basically the inevitable rematch between Bud Crawford and Errol Spence is not really intriguing because of how that first fight went down. And it's kind of one of those same things where Tim Tszyu first versus Jermell Charlo isn't as intriguing because Jermell Charlo just went in there and laid down against Canelo. Personally, I would have no qualms with seeing Bud and Tszyu, go down next. If Bud is looking to go up the scales 7 more pounds and go to 154, and the stake is claimed, I think that would be a more intriguing matchup than him against Bud Crawford. Again against Errol Spence or Charlo going in and fighting Tim Tszyu. Even though Tim Tszyu versus Charlo is a little more intriguing because there's that would be a unified, that would be for undisputed, so there's built-in intrigue in that matchup. I'm not saying I don't want to see that at all or whatnot, but it puts a big question mark in people's minds, just like Tiffany said, regarding Jermel's last performance, where he went in there and laid down against Canelo. Do we really want to see a guy go in with half a heart against a dude who, who has got all the heart right now, like Tim Tszyu? So, I figure we might as well see two dudes who want to be in there with the best and who want to display the best of themselves against the best. And right now, in that 154 sphere, or circling around it, are Bud Crawford and Tim Tszyu. So, hey, if that ended up happening, I wouldn't be mad at it at all.
Me either.
So, Stephen Ruiz, your sentiments are being shared that the Tim Tszyu versus Jermell Crawford might not hold that much allure now. Your thoughts, Stephen?
Well, I wanted to piggyback on what Courtney said a time ago, where he said he's trying to carve out his own niche. And who could take a page out of that is Conor Benn and Chris Eubank, because a lot of what they talk is their father. And I get the allure of that because of the fight that they can make. However, when you talk Tim Tszyu, you hear Tim Tszyu talk about Charlo or opponents. He's not referencing his father. He's not, that's great. And it's good to have that legacy. Shout out Standing A Podcast Legacy chat. But you want to carve out your own niche. And that's what he's doing. And that's what I really like for him. Now, we heard what, to piggyback Daniel said, we heard that Charlo, after the Canelo fight, said, I want to fight Bud. At this stage in my career, I want big fights. So that tells me Tim Tszyu is a great fight, but that's not a money fight. A Canelo fight, win or lose, that's a good fight for Charlo. Bud Crawford, win or lose, that's a good fight for Crawford. And why I say that is because my bank account is just steadily climbing on those fights, as opposed to I lost to Tim Tszyu. Well, if I'm going to lose, do I want to lose for 10 million or do I want to lose for 2.5? I'll lose for 10. Me personally, I'll lose for about 100,000 or just enough to be able to bet Michael Gomes every now and then. But at the end of the day, like I said, going off of what Tiffany said, going off of what Courtney said, I would want to see Bud versus Charlo, because that's what I think the business, when we take off our boxing purist cap hats and we put on the business caps, that's a big money fight. So I think if you were going to lose to anybody, just like Charlo did, could I lose to Tim Tszyu? Possibly. Could I lose to Canelo? Possibly. And who did he end up signing to fight? Canelo. So with that, my Cowboys brother right there, even though he was late, I'll turn it over to that gentleman right there. Go Cowboys.
Vivo!
With us, he just patched in, Manny Marrero Jr., 1/3 of Long Live Boxing and Vivo podcast. Welcome, sir, to the program.
Thank you.
It's been a while. Welcome.
Been a while.
Let's get your thoughts on Tim Tszyu's performance over Brian Mendoza. We all saw Tim Tszyu. He was clearly on a different motor, another level. But despite that, Brian Mendoza showed heart. He still fought back to the best of his abilities up to the 12th round. Give us your reaction, your sentiments on the fight.
Well, salute to the panel. It's great to see you all. Tiffany, I don't know if I've met you before, but great to meet you. Hey, Courtney. Mr. Ruiz, thank you for having us. Appreciate y'all. Hey, clearly we got ourselves the best junior middleweight right now, no questions asked. And without disrespecting, right, the former undisputed champion in Charlo, now unified. And I tell you what, this is one of the reasons why he's been ducking Tim Tszyu. He knows that there is talent. He's getting better and better and better. His defense was amazing at the beginning, and not to mention he was patient enough. Those first 2 rounds were kind of swinging rounds, right? But then you could see that he started taking control. But man, shout out to Brian Mendoza. If I'm gonna put top 3 right now in this division, that'll be number 1 Tim Tszyu, number 2 Charlo, number 3 Mendoza. As a matter of fact, I think Mendoza can definitely beat Charlo as well. Listen, he shows some courage. He took a beating. He took everything that Tim Tszyu got. And he was just standing in there. He was not letting go. He said, this is my chance. This is my opportunity. And, I talked about it before. This guy came from 2 devastating losses against Lara, changed training camp, changed eating habits, changed nutrition, did everything he had to do, came back 3 fights later and earned the spot where he was to be able to contend for a world title. And he proved himself that he can definitely, he's not someone that people are going to step over and move over on top of him. He can definitely come back and maybe contend in the future again. Who knows? I mean, I don't think Charlo's seen what happened last night. He want no piece, none of these 2 guys. And of course, I agree with you. I came in a little bit late, but I agree with the money business aspect of it. And that's great. But at the end of the day, us fans, we want to see the best fighters in the ring. If we're going to pay a lot of money for pay-per-view, we want to be able to see all these guys fight each other, right? And so I think Charlo, yes, he wants a piece of Crawford, but Charlo needs to come in and settle things down at the 154 with Tim Tszyu. Come on, he got injured. He didn't really come back, and I think it was a hand or something like that. And then here's Tim Tszyu still grinding and doing his thing and separating himself from the family aspect of it, making a name for himself. And guess what? Last fight in Australia, he's coming down here and gonna get the big bucks. And guess what? People are saying that no one can make money fighting Tim Tszyu. You will make money fighting Tim Tszyu, that is for sure. And I can't just wait to see what this kid has in the future. But I hope that Charlo and Tim Tszyu fight happens soon, next, hopefully.
And that's going to be a great promotion too. You know what I'm saying? Between that dynamic between if Charlo decides to get, you know what I'm saying, it's like, all right, cool, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that's what Tim Tszyu is trying to do. I think Tim Tszyu is trying to talk his shit because he knows Charlo is keen to talk shit and to be bombastic within the media and in social media. And I think he's trying to draw him in to where, all right, like, hey, I want to make it personal for you to fight me, you know? And I think him stepping to the mic right after that victory over Mendoza and basically not just calling him out, but calling him out in a way where he puts it in people's minds that, yo, Charlo is scared of me. He don't want none of this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, it's just like, yo, I'm not keen to just sit here in Australia and take mandatories, even though I could fill up an arena fighting the circus midget if I wanted to. But I'm trying to go to your hood. I'm trying to go to the States. I'm trying to get that passport stamped. You know what I'm saying? And then as soon as I clear customs, you belong to me. You know, hey, I like that. I like that aspect. I think if he gets Charlo in the ring, it's gonna be on that tip, as opposed to like a financial incentive or a big fight incentive. I think he knows that excuse is already built in for Charlo to be able to dip out on that fight. So I think he's keen to be like, you know what? Nah, I'm playing at your ego. You know, you're over here, you're Lions only or whatever. Okay, I got some catnip for you. I got some fresh step kitty litter for you.
Yeah,
you know I got some milk in a saucer if you want to take. You know, what I'm saying, if you want to take a few
milk
licks
the
on
cow.
that, you know, let's go.
But he's gonna have to. But he's gonna. Charlo's
think
gonna have to
that'll
do
be-
a lot better than what he did against Canelo. He's gonna have if he's gonna fight Tim Tszyu, he even gonna have to do better than Brian when he fought Brian Castaño on the second fight. Both fights were great, and I think it really showcased what he's capable of in the second fight. But I just don't see him right now. The way he performed, he just went in clearly to get a paycheck, and that's what I was really upset because I thought Charlo was gonna do a whole lot better. Was he gonna beat Canelo? Heck no. But I thought he was gonna contend at least. Give us some kind of excitement, like a light of like, oh, that's the Charlo that people are talking about. That's the Charlo that's got so many fans going crazy thinking that he was going to knock out Canelo. Nothing. Didn't see that. So are you just for paycheck to paycheck, or are you just coming down and just ducking the people who you know they're more talented than you are?
Manny,
right?
Can we bring up a point that Tiffany said, Courtney said, I said it, we've all said it. We can't forget that Charlo was in there with Canelo, and then Tszyu was in there with Mendoza. Those are different opponents. And when I've talked before, I said it when Charlo was looking real strong and those doubters. I wouldn't say Charlo fans. I would say Canelo haters because Floyd had the same thing. No, but it's Floyd had the same thing.
Yeah.
There was people that were like, oh, Robert the Ghost Guerrero, he's going to go in there and do it. And it's like, bro, no, he was not. But Floyd had the haters just like he had the fans. Canelo has the haters just like he has the fans. So to your point, did we think he was going to do it? I don't think so because I put it out there for a lot of bets and there was a lot of rock throwers. There are a lot of people throwing rocks and hiding their hands. Nobody was ever giving me no dollar amounts, and I'm in all the Facebook groups. Any Facebook group, I'm there for it. You know what I mean? And Manny knows I'm on theirs.
I got someone suckered for $100.
There you go. So what?
Ghost chased Floyd. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
Charlo ran from him.
Okay, but there's a different power in that towards those guys' careers at the end. However, but what I'm saying is we can't just totally knock Charlo because again, he wasn't trying to open up too much for what was going to come back. Canelo's a tremendous counterpuncher. Now, Tim Tszyu, he's a hard puncher. But do we think that Tim Tszyu hits as hard as Canelo? And, you know, there's a styles make fights. So there's also the chance where Tim Tszyu doesn't get as much respect as Canelo does, which will change the fight aspect and dynamic because, again, we say styles make fights. So if Charlo even could gain confidence, it's like, well, I took some heavy leather from Canelo. And then you fight Tim Tszyu and you're like, he doesn't hit that hard. So guess what? I'm not as scared. I might not respect you as much. And now my hands are going to come out the pockets a little bit better than they did against Tim Tszyu. So again, I know Charlo gave a terrible performance, but we got to remember who he was in there with. There's times I've been with people and they've schooled me. And I'm like, well, that was the best of the best. And that guy is
Yeah,
multi-millionaire.
still, he made some very amateur mistakes. You know, if you look at Canelo double jabbed to coming with the uppercut. Why would you, if you're double jab, why would you tuck down and cover yourself with the right hand up here, leaving
Well,
yourself open? I mean, these are some of the basic mistakes that I was thinking, what is he doing?
Well, he
Right?
said it. He gave him too much respect. Likewise, I thought Tim Tszyu got hit way too much on my end. He got hit with some very good hooks, left hands, and Charlo carries good power too. So that's why, to me, the styles make fights. It's just hard when we're bashing Charlo, and rightfully so because of the performance he turned in.
Performance, that's all it is.
But it also is like, well, he wasn't there with the best of the best or one of the best of the best. So it's hard when we've done that with Crawford. Crawford's been in there with guys and we're like, oh man, that guy looked like crap. And then we're like, well, we should have given him a little bit of credit. That was Terrence Crawford.
And a guy like Terrell Gaucher, who, you know what I'm saying, was the only person that Tszyu has fought in the States, not a puncher at all. And he did have Tszyu on the canvas. So, you know, that's something else.
And that's a good point. But that's a good point. But look, we said that same thing with Bud Crawford. Oh, Gamboa rocked Bud. But did Spence, heavier puncher to our knowledge, do anything to Bud? No. So styles make fights. So All Access, Jimmy Blue, good point, but not really. That's my guy. I just like messing with him.
Really largo.
Tiffany, we know you're pressed for time, but do you have any thoughts, any response to any of the thoughts that have been shared as far as Charlo's comparing Charlo's loss to Mendoza's loss? Is there an equivalency there? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Steve about, you know, like how we're comparing the two fighters. We're gonna have to kind of, I guess we got to compartmentalize. Every boxer has a bad day. You know, they always have that one fight and they go back and look. Except if you're Errol Spence, that was horrible. But this past, but you know, with Charlo, we gotta give him credit for moving up to weight classes, even though he's a big guy. I feel like he shouldn't be at 154. I feel like he's a weight bully. I feel like he should be at 160 or 168. That's where he probably belongs. What did he say? 154 is the weight I make weight at. That's my fight. That's not where he's supposed to be. That's just where he makes weight. Okay. He should probably move up, but we got to give him credit. It's just kind of like when Rigondeaux fought Lomachenko. It was like, what the hell was that, Rigondeaux? Like we were not expecting that type of a fight. We were expecting something more, and this is what we got. But he was a smaller guy. Sometimes that happens. Mikey Garcia, you expect more from somebody when they move up. They're chasing greatness instead of like they probably not know that they don't have a chance. We all know they don't have a chance. Hell, like Mikey Garcia gets the Errol Spence. Why? Like it doesn't make sense. Why are you fighting the lightweight, dude? Like that kind of stuff. It just kind of irks you. But, you know, I don't know. I feel like Jermell Charlo is emotional. I feel like he doesn't have discipline. He lacks discipline. Just kind of like if you went through the All Access, he was like, why the hell would I be away from my family? And I'm here with my family. We swimming. We eating. We doing this. I'm having a good time. Like, he's not disciplined. You see Canelo, he's away from his family. He sacrificed the different types of sacrifices these fighters make. I feel like Charlo's just not there. And I don't know if it's something with Derek James's camp. It just seemed like all his fighters are just undisciplined. You know, nothing against Derek James, but they all seem like they're all in the same boat. And there's something wrong there. I just don't know what it is.
Hey, it's just more fame. They're getting into the fame. They don't feel like they have a challenge. I mean, last fight was what, May 14, 2022, and then he fights Canelo. Now, a year, more than a year on that, without activity, a guy that's undisputed, a guy that's people are calling him, right? Or if you feel like you're not going to get a fight at 154, then why don't you go ahead and step up and move to the 160? Just let other kids go on there.
Do that because his brother's there, probably.
Well,
different weight classes, right?
About 5 belts hostage right now. You know what I mean? Because his brother, he's got what, 2.5 years or more than that. He hasn't fought. So it's just one of those things, you know, that I'm like, you know, first of all, it wasn't supposed to be meant to him fight Canelo, but he got the call and he said, sure, I'm going to make a few millions. Why not? I mean, you know, and then move up and okay. I mean, I get it. It was not a balance it up, but you know, you have to understand, if you take the challenge to do that and you have an opportunity to become a 2-division undisputed world champion, I'm telling you, I'm going to die in the ring. I'm going to do so, right? Especially I'm getting a nice paycheck, but you know, he could have done a whole lot more than what he did against Canelo. And nothing to take away from you, you know, what you said, Ruiz, that it was Canelo's a different animal. I get it, but he could have done a whole lot better and entertained us a little bit more than what he actually did. It's just.
Can I ask you, Manny? Can I ask you, Manny?
Lions only. He could have gone out on that shield.
Can I ask Manny? Can I ask Manny, since he stepped up, and we know he did because his brother at the time wasn't ready? How much, if at all, does that hurt possibly the next fight with Jamal? How much do fans like you, me, Tiffany, Courtney, everybody, do we want to see Canelo on his 3-fight deal burn one of his fights with the older Charlo, or I mean the bigger Charlo?
No, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. I don't care for it. I don't care for it. I don't care for it. And the reason why is going to be more the same than that. He fought the best of the Charlos. That's it. Little Charlo is the best, both of them. And then this guy hasn't fought in 2.5 years. All right. He's been injured in the back. Mentally, he's not stable, and he's going through a divorce. So, I mean, you have all the chances to go against someone that is completely vulnerable right now. And I would hate to take one of those fights away, which, by the way, I mean, someone asked me the other day, so why Charlo? And I said, listen, the Charlos are the face of PBC. Whether people find them talented or not, they are. So if you just signed in with PBC and Al Heyman, and you're going to start building up some fights, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to fight against the face of PBC, which in this case, it was the Charlos. Big Charlo couldn't do it, right? So they go to the little Charlo now. And of course he was going to take it, right? Next fight, it has to be the winner. Well, it has to be the winner of Benavidez and Boo Andrade. All right.
I don't think so because of this.
Well,
you got three
with Benavidez, it has to happen. This is the reason why.
It can, but on the third fight,
that's going to be the last fight. That's going to be the third fight, man.
But if Benavidez loses to Andrade, that's not going to happen. So right now, if you think about it, if you look at everyone that is out there on PBC at 168, who else can Canelo fight besides Charlo? And if he doesn't fight Benavidez, it's like he's going to keep making a lot of money fighting no one else. You got to go out there, beat the best of that promoter, Scott. Benavidez got to be the next one. And then third fight, maybe it could be a gimme with the Charlo. And then he moves on to what? To possibly fight the rematch that we all know he wants before he retires, which is going to be Bivol. And
but business says it cannot be Benavidez on the second one. You paid Canelo all that money to do a 3-fight deal. And what I hear a lot of is you wouldn't have Benavidez Canelo as the first fight, would you, Ms. Daniels?
No, not there.
So why would it be the second? It's got to be the third. Then you do Charlo Benavidez, cool. Bud also has his 3-fight deal with PBC. He makes it through. And then what do you tell both of those guys if you're Al Heyman? I have something very juicy for all of us, baby. We're all going to make money. Canelo, VMC, Terrence Bud Crawford. You could own the state of Nebraska after we get done promoting Canelo versus Bud Crawford.
Nebraska.
Hey, he could buy that at a discount.
There's like 30 houses in Nebraska.
You can buy that at a discount.
Anyways, but what I'm saying is, that's my layout to Miss Daniels as why that one might not be second. It's because I could say, hey, I can make money on Canelo. You're going to make big money on any Canelo fight. Everybody knows that. That's why
this one, man. I think 600,000 pay-per-views.
Just throws this whole theory off.
Exactly.
Okay, now if Boo Boo wins, to your point, you could do Charlo, Boo Boo, Benavidez. I mean, Charlo, Boo Boo, still Crawford. But it don't matter. That second one really doesn't matter.
I just don't think, honestly, Canelo, and it's going to be a duck sauce for a lot of people thinking about it, but I just don't think that if Benavidez loses to Boo Boo, that fight's not going to happen. All right. And listen, it wasn't because of Canelo. He had an opportunity, but he couldn't make weight, so he lost the title. Right. So what did he have to do? go out there and fight for the mandatory 1 and 2 Canelo, and then he got the title and he beat the rest of the guys in 168. So it wasn't Canelo's fault. Now he's got an opportunity. He's got to capitalize, and I believe he will. Because
Courtney,
this is the fight that he's been wanting to.
You think he walks through Benavidez, Boo Boo?
He's not gonna walk through, but I think he's stronger. I think he's a lot better. Boo Boo hasn't looked great in the last few fights, man. I just don't know. Listen, and I like the guy. And if I was talking about 2-3 years ago, I'd be saying like, man, Andrade is the shit right now. But all of a sudden, he just fell off the face of the earth, and went out there, fought in the zone, and he heard out there, and he didn't look as good as what I've seen Benavidez. Look at how Benavidez did to Caleb Plant. And there's a great point my friend made. He's like, yeah, Canelo knocked down Caleb Plant, but Benavidez destroyed Caleb Plant. Although he didn't knock him out, he gave him a lot of punishment, right? So with that, all he's got to do is just a quarter of, 3/4 what he did to Caleb Plant. And that's the same thing he's going to have to boo-boo. And I think it's going to be a knockout on there. And that's going to be Benavidez. And I'm not a huge Benavidez, but I want to see what people are screaming, right? Non-Canelo fans and Canelo fans. I want to see Benavidez and Canelo happening next. It has to. I mean, $50 million, and you lost a lot of money in the first fight. PBC, they lost money, man, on that fight.
They're going to Amazon Prime. It don't matter. They're
So
they're getting evicted out of their house. Hey,
I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for seamlessly, tuning into the last part of this podcast, which is previewing the November 25th fight between Benavidez and Demetrius Andrade. So we already got Manny's take. He thinks it's going to be a wash over Andrade. So Courtney, go ahead. Your response to that?
All right. I know we're segueing. I just want to say one last thing in terms of the question of whether Canelo will potentially fight Jermall in the next fight. Listen.
Go ahead.
This is what Canelo has been doing his whole career. He's almost staked his career on it. Is I will beat you up and then go get your brother. I will beat his ass too. That's what Canelo is. That he did that to the Cottos, and he did that to the Smiths. He will do that to the Charlos as well. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm not an executive at Showtime, so I'm not out here saying, but hey, for to say it's beyond the pale that Canelo will fight and beat up on Jermall too. Come on now. We've seen this story before, yo. So and Canelo has been keen to tell it. So that's why I believe that a Jermell Charlo fight is a high likelihood next for Canelo. Now on the subject at hand, I want to go on wax. I want to go on wax, and I want to shout out Mike Gomes, and I want to put the Portuguese speaking community in America on my back when I say this. Hey, Boo Boo Andrade will upset the apple cart. He will beat Benavidez. I'm saying it. I'm saying it, yo. Hey, it's a trap fight. It's a trap fight if I've ever seen one. Hey, you know what I'm saying? And Benavidez, hey, he's gonna catch Benavidez looking ahead, and he's gonna catch Benavidez because Benavidez does not think it's gonna happen to him. And when I moved towards this prediction, when I read that Jose Benavidez was gonna try to go up against Jermall, so in order to eliminate Jermall from being a threat, like, yo, y'all are that confident where this dude, you know what I'm saying, where Jose Benavidez, who's fighting a junior welterweight, is going to go up and fight a fucking full-ass, fledged, excuse my language, middleweight, like, who is undefeated? Like, come on, yo, y'all are delusional. Y'all, you know what I'm saying, y'all really think this is chiseled in stone for y'all.
Can we get a friendly? Can we get a friendly bet between Manny and Cody?
I will not do a friendly bet.
No,
Steven, I told you. Hey, I changed my life up. I do not gamble. I'm not taking bet. I'm not.
He needs to do a lot better than when he fought them on Nicholson.
Take my prediction as word. Hey, if I fall on my face with this one, I will come on the air. Hey, and you know what I'm saying, and I will be mad humble. You know what I'm saying, which I have before. But hey, I'm boldly proclaiming it on the air in this episode right now. Boo Boo Andrade will beat Benavidez. I'm saying it. Hey, the floor is y'all. But I said what I said. I said.
So Tiffany and Steven, we got two opposing schools of thought when it pertains to Benavidez versus Andrade. Tiffany, let's go to you. Since you're short on time, you have places to be.
Yeah, I'm great.
Your prediction, how do you see this fight going down? Go ahead, Tiffany.
I'm scared for Demetrius Andrade. But I'm going to say what he said. Demetrius Andrade versus Benavidez. It's going to be a movie. That's what he said. So I'm hoping that they just show up and show out and nobody lays down. I hope they just do a great performance and I'll be happy. I'm a happy camper for boxing of this whole year. So as long as they come to fight, I'm happy. I don't care who wins.
I think they also need to do a little bit more trash talking between them. I mean, it's just too of a friendly fight that it's like
I know
for Benavidez might not mean a whole lot, but something needs to click and connect that it's actually organic, so that way people can really be excited to tune in because it's just I don't know. I just see it like, you know what I mean? I see Andre so soft right now, and Benavidez is a quiet guy, but he did trash talk. But I don't know. I mean, I hope so. He's gonna have to do a whole lot better than he did against Demon Nicholson and Jason Quick. Like he did. He just knocked it out in the second round. But but he couldn't do it to Liam Williams. He couldn't do it to Demon Nicholson. So I don't know. I mean, I don't want to think that he's fading in the sport because I do like the guy, and I am not surprised if he wins. Courtney, you're gonna get all the props. I really doubt it. But at the same time, I'll be pretty excited for Boo Boo, but I'll be very disappointed because the fight that we want to see, it's not going to happen.
Steven, we got Tiffany with the neutral stance. Two opposing thoughts between Courtney and Manny. Now, your take, you being a Canelo fan, and Canelo supposedly awaiting the winner of these two gentlemen. How do you see Andrade versus Benavidez matching up?
So speaking of, I am a Canelo fan. I never shy away from that. The fight that Boo Boo Andrade would need to fight Benavidez is the fight that Arislandi Lara fought Canelo, where you have a charging bull coming in, and you're just effectively keeping him away with the jab and circling and circling and jab and circling and making him miss all night. That is what Boo Boo is going to have to do because Benavidez has power, and if you don't show him something, he's just gonna damn the torpedoes and he's walking straight at you. Now, saying walking straight at you is a big time problem if you know what you're doing, because Ronald Gavril, and I put it in the groups all the time, that guy put Benavidez on his ass because he said he just walked straight in. And when you do that and you forget that I am in there with another professional fighter, that could be problems. Not to mention you're thinking ahead like Courtney's saying, and you've got all these other things going on besides that. So walking straight in to guys, to professional boxers can sometimes be dangerous because if you don't see what's coming, that's the fight that hurts you. And that could happen. So that to me is why who would have to fight Benavidez like Lara fought Canelo. You're not going to stand there. I'm not going to let you get yours off. I'm not going to let you set up camp and then just rock me to the body and put me out. To Manny's point, Benavidez damaged and hurt Caleb Plant, but I also saw Caleb Plant do a little bit of a Charlo where he wanted to make it 12 rounds, to where Canelo opened up Plant to where Benavidez didn't do it so much. He was looking just to knock him out, where Canelo got him out of there because he was just exhausted. You saw him skipping it like through the ring because his legs were out. Plant at least had a little bit left where he said, okay, I am not going to be able to beat him, but I fired off my shots, and now I'm towards in the 11th round, I can make it. And we saw him just kind of hang on that fight. So yes, even though he didn't get the knockout, he did hurt him more because he stayed in there for that punishment. But like what we said with the Charlos, like, man, you should have gone on your shield like that, because we just saw Plant do that with Canelo, and Caleb Plant lost nothing. Like I said, not after that Canelo fight, got the Benavidez fight. So his stock didn't go down. His pockets only got bigger. So I wouldn't say that Boo Boo can't do it. I think he can, but we've just never seen Boo Boo in the fight that we wanted to as boxing fans, to put the measuring stick on Boo Boo Andrade to see where he's at. When he signed up for Billy Joe Saunders, before Billy Joe Saunders popped, that was a fight I was looking forward to so much, because I wanted to see, out of those two at that time, they're both yapping at Canelo. I wanted to see which one was the real deal, which one could have gave Canelo the harder test. What would happen if we're playing hindsight 2020? What would have happened if Boo Boo would have boxed circles around Billy Joe Saunders? Now we're saying, oh yeah, Canelo might be ducking Boo Boo because he hasn't tried to fight him. He's not trying to fight him. He's not trying to see him. And we just saw what he did with Billy Joe Saunders. But we don't know. That fight didn't happen. Billy Joe Saunders ends up getting a fight with Canelo. Canelo pushes his skull halfway through his head. And Boo Boo to this day has yet to fight a marquee fighter that people like Manny, Courtney, Aaron, myself, all of In Vivo's squad, All Access. We can't hang our hat on anything for Boo Boo because I haven't seen you in there with a guy that says, okay, you beat this dude and I can see you doing this with other elite talent. And that's just kind of where we're at. Benavidez, a little bit of a question mark too, because while he was a champion, could he have been ducked or what have you? Possibly, but they weren't unifying before Canelo got to 168. So I didn't see what he could do with Smith. I didn't see what he could do with those other guys till after Canelo already got his hands with Plant, and then Plant goes in there after with Benavidez after Canelo. So it's just, we got to see. So Boo Boo to me is the big question mark. It's an X factor. So Courtney, he's not wrong, but it's hard to put not money, but it's hard to put stuff, hang your hat on that when I don't have enough data because I haven't seen it stress tested to the higher levels. So that's all I would say.
Plus, one factor too is that Benavidez, for a fact, he might be struggling to make the weight. I just don't know how long he can take it. So this is why I was saying second
He
fight.
looks very big in that training video with his hair long.
Really did. And so I don't know. I don't think he can last. I mean, if he fights and then Canelo goes to the other Chalo, and then who is he going to fight next afterwards, right? He needs to fight someone to stay active. Other than that, he's going to have issues making the weight. So that's why for me is a couple of things. If Boo Boo gets the best out of it and Benavidez is so dehydrated in the fight that it's just one of those off nights, that's where I could see Boo Boo doing that. I don't think Boo Boo has the power to knock him out, but I see him doing some damage here, there.
Could he stab to the body all 12 rounds? And
because every time he gets into the pocket, Benavidez gets into the pocket, he ducks down. And so this is where Boo Boo needs to start capitalizing. And I totally agree with you. You just hit the nail in the head. There's no resume right now for me as a fan to say, I'm going to either put some money or I'm going to go crazy against someone that's already been there and it's gotten the fights. Sadly enough, a lot of people say everyone was ducking Boo Boo. He couldn't get no fights. But hey, that's not of our concern. I mean, he was there. He's been there. Nothing ever happened. So others got the best of it. And right now, based on what I've seen in the past, Benavidez, that's it.
There you have it, guys. The thoughts of our preview of Benavidez versus Andrade for November 25th. Also, shout out to Tiffany Daniels. She had to exit early for outside bins, but shout out to Tiffany Daniels, the first lady of boxing. But that'll be it for episode 95 of the Standing 8 podcast. First, let me go to you, Manny Marrero Jr., 1/3 of Long Live Boxing In Vivo podcast. Any closing shout outs, remarks you want to give to the audience out there? Go ahead, Manny.
Man, I really appreciate you having us on here, Steve. Hopefully we can just meet again and enjoy a nice boxing fight. And Courtney, I don't think I've met you personally, but definitely, this is a year, man. This is a year we're getting some of the big fights. Whether you hate Canelo, whether you're not, whether you think it's there's a lot of people coming up. Look at Tim Tszyu now, right? And Crawford, who knows? He's gonna move up to 147 to 154. He's gonna probably get the big bucks on it. Right. So there's just a lot of boxing still to be made up. And right now, I mean, even one of the biggest fight that I've always wanted to look forward to is Devin Haney against Prograis. I mean, I know it's too soon, man, but hey, we got a year that it's not over yet. We got 2.5 months and we're stacked with a lot of good fights that are out there. Sadly enough, they're putting a lot of money in them pay-per-views and not enough undercard, but still, we're content creators. We're going to go after it. We're going to watch it and we'll break it down as always.
Not only overloaded pay-per-views, but those YouTube matches, they're getting too much now on DAZN. So I just want to put that out there too.
Oh, and on top of that $250 in DAZN that just came out of my account, I'm like, damn, I forgot.
Fraud.
Well,
dude,
thank you again, Manny Marrero. And a shout out to Hopper and Sean Gringo Hicks out there, also representing Long Live Boxing In Vivo podcast. Make sure to follow their page. Listen to them on all podcast platforms. They create great content. Courtney, the Burt Brown Sugar. Any last thoughts, shout outs you want to give out? Go ahead, Courtney.
Hey, definitely want to shout out Mr. Moreno for coming to bless the show and to collaborate with us. Hey, as always, hey, to my to the the diamond that sharpens my sword, saying, Stephen Ruiz. Hey, it's been an honor battling it out on you and talking that shit with you on the airwaves. Hey, Aaron, hey, thank you so much again for being the mastermind and being the glue that keeps this together. The First Lady of Boxing, Tiffany Daniels, always a pleasure to be on with her. A shout out to Daniel D-Rock Pena. Definite shout out to Mike Gomes, and shout out to all the day ones that have been rocking with the movement from the very beginning, and our collaboration and our partners within Vivo, Supreme Boxing, Just Boxing, and everybody else out there, as well as Marcus Nall, Ohio Runs Boxing, Anthony Stack, Saldana, and all everybody from the groups. Pound for Pound and Standing 8 Legacy, and particularly near and dear to my heart, all our international viewers, all 6 continents around the world, who just made us blow up, and we're able to make us so we could stake a flag in this game and ensure that we're going to be here for a very long time, spreading the gospel and spreading this movement. Hey, we love y'all. And we love you for loving us so much. And we hope y'all continue to rock with us. And hey, to the future and beyond. Hey, let's do this.
Great words, Corny. And as well, Manny Mero Jr. Ringside Ruiz, Stephen Ruiz of Ringside Global. What's up, man? Any last words, shout outs you want to give out? Go ahead, man.
Okay, shout out to Manny, because this guy is doing all the acting like our boy on Sidestep 2, Big Wheel Steel. I'm looking at Manny on his page all the time. He's at a red carpet. He's getting awards. He's flying, he's flying first class with models and bottles. So shout out to that guy, man. What I really love about all of us is at the end of the day, we're all here. We're all fans of boxing. We all love the sport, and we're all just giving our thoughts and respecting each other. And to me, that's what it's about. Like Courtney said, we all, iron sharpens iron. So like Sean Fitzgerald, he's out there. He's doing his thing with his charity. It's just, there's so many guys that I've met in all of our Standing 8 podcasts that everybody's got a hand in something, and we're all doing something major. So shout out to Manny. Shout out to Hopper. Their show is great. Sean L. Greenville Hickson, he does what Aaron does, and he's the glue out there too, putting the greatest clips in there. And it's just it's awesome. Like I said, shout out Tommy Rush Jr. My boy Courtney forgot him in that shout out, but I ain't gonna forget you, Tommy Rush. You're my boy. We love to have when you're here at the house. Love it. Oh, look at that, Julian Givens. I was giving love, and now look at this. You give out love, and guys like that with the Chargers. He's got a big bet going on with another guy in my boxing group. So Cowboys Chargers tonight. That's why I'm rocking my gear. That's why Manny's wearing his gear. Big game tonight. But shout out Texas Rangers. Shout out Houston. That's a good series. I'll just do this kind of quick. Julian Givens, he was in the chat the whole time. That's awesome. Like Courtney said, D-Rock's in there. Shout out to Michael 5,000 watts Gomes, $5,000 Gomes. That's our guy. Thank you, David Lombardo. But
hey, Uncle Dave,
everybody that's always in the chat,
and Noah,
Pedro Ugbaya, everybody, man. It's just we send out so much love, we get so much love, and that's what this boxing game's all about. It's all the respect, everybody. Shout out Aaron. I'll be seeing you this week. Jose Rendon, who's always helping me out with all the boxing stuff I've got. Shout out to SOA. Shout out Alexis Rocha, Coach Hector. Like I said, me and Aaron will be in attendance. Noe G helps me make fight videos. So, man, just we're stacked, bro. We're so stacked and so blessed that DFW is such a hotbed. All Access Elite, big time in all of our stuff, too. Shout out to everybody in the DFW. Courtney out there protecting our country. Like you said, All Access Elite Boxing, giving that love to En Vivo. Hopefully Zender Zayas starts fighting and, just stops calling out Mexicans and actually fights people for once.
He is.
One fight in like 3 years. Calm down.
No,
anyways,
he's going to fight 3 times this year. He's going to fight in December again. Come on. Give him a break.
Okay, I'm sorry. But that's it for me, man. I'm just excited, and I love all of y'all. Thank you for always having me on the show.
Hey, before we go, before we roll out, I want to thank you so much to my uncle David Lombardo. That was my dad's coworker growing up, and my dad would always dip out and watch because he was a tightwad. He would always dip out and watch the pay-per-view fights at my uncle Dave's house, man. So shout out to David Lombardo out there. And that really did my heart great, man, to see you, and every time you're in the group and supporting the movement. So thank you so much.
Awesome, guys. So that'll be it for episode 95 of the Standing 8 podcast. I'm Aaron Sorial from Los Angeles. With me in the present moment in the stream, Ringside Ruiz, Stephen Ruiz, Courtney, the Burp Brown Sugar, Manny Marrero Jr., 1/3 of En Vivo podcast. And earlier today, Tiffany Daniels, the First Lady of Boxing, representing Ohio Hard. Also, shout out to who unfortunately couldn't make it. Tommy Rush Jr. and Michael Gomes. I know they're with us in spirit. Again, from all of us to all of you out there listening to us, watching us, supporting us. This is episode 95 of the Standing 8 podcast. Have a safe night and thank you. Peace out.
Vivo.
Later.
Adios.